We are in the middle of a corporate church-wide fast. And if you haven't, we started that on Friday, but if you haven't been able to jump in on that yet, feel free to start today. It doesn't matter if you missed the first few days. And I want to ask a question. This isn't to highlight anybody or anything. It's not like that. Just by show of hands real quick, who's participating? How many people are? Wow, that says about 75% of people. That's awesome. Uncle Stephen, what are you fasting? The Cowboys? No, you don't have to. They already lost, so he doesn't even have to fast that. Anyway, I'm not going to do that. So and think about this. Why is it that we would be fasting? Why would someone do something like that? Well, it's because you're probably going for, maybe you're wanting to see some vision in your life. You're wanting the Lord to give you some vision. Or maybe you're asking for a breakthrough and healing. Or maybe there's part of your life that needs to be reignited and recharged. Or maybe you're standing in the gap for someone else that needs a breakthrough. You're standing in the gap for a lost family member or someone that needs to come to salvation. Whatever it is, fasting does play a role in that. I want to kind of explain a story real quick. And you should have gotten a text this morning. It's Mark 9:14 through 29. So here's the scenario. Jesus goes off with a couple of the disciples. This is when he goes to the transfiguration happens. He takes a couple of the disciples with him, and he goes off and he does Jesus things. Talks to the Lord. His face is glowing, sees Elijah and Moses and all that great stuff. Well, the other disciples were back in the city, back in the town. I don't know which one it was. And so Jesus comes off the mountain after being gone for several days, and he sees that there's this huge crowd of people, and there's an argument taking place. And so he gets there and he says, what's going on? Obviously, I'm paraphrasing. What's going on? And the people come to him and said, well, your disciples were healing people, and all these people were being healed, but then when it came to this boy, they couldn't heal him. And so Jesus says, okay. And then what does he do? He heals the boy. And so that whole scenario plays out, and there's a confrontation between the town people and the disciples. And then when they get by themselves, so the disciples get with Jesus, they say, Lord, why could we not heal this man? Why could we heal him, but why could we not see healing in this man? And he said, this type of healing requires prayer and fasting. And basically he's saying there is a time in our life where we have to really put our foot to the floor and press through in some of these things. And fasting is a tool that enables us to do that. And so why does that work? How does it work? Well, our bodies, the way we were created is as triune people. I say, oh, that's a weird word. Haven't heard that word before. Yeah, triune people, meaning we're made of our body, we're made of our soul, which is mind, will, and emotions. And then we're the only being, literally the only being on earth, the only creature that has a spirit man as well. And so you've got three entities there that make up part of who you are. And here's the thing, whichever entity's loudest is going to be the one that wins. So let me run this by you. You're a Christian, but you're saying, wow, I'm really struggling in this area of sin, or I'm really struggling in this area of my life. Maybe it's addiction or sexual sin or something like that, whatever it might be. I'm going to guess that your body's probably the loudest at that point. Or you're a Christian and you're like, well, I'm really struggling with anxiety and fear and stress, and my thoughts are going to places that they shouldn't be. Well, I'm going to guess that your soul is the stronger at that point. So what we want to do is make the spirit man the strongest. Last week when it was snowing, we went outside. My parents live on a hill, and all the siblings were there. And I said, oh, we should play King of the Hill. That'll be fun, because now you can throw people down the hill and they won't be hurt as much because there's 10 inches of snow. I love playing that game with my siblings because I'm the biggest of all of us. And so that's a game that I like to play. But the reality is, whoever is strongest is going to be the one that dominates. And that same thing applies to this ourselves, which is we are triune bodies. And if you're saying, well, is that even biblical or not? I haven't heard triune used in the Bible. Well, read the first part of Romans 8. And that whole part in there literally talks about the battle between the spirit and the flesh. So what fasting does is fasting, and we only do it for a season because you can't do it all the time. Fasting starves parts of the body and it feeds the other part of the body. So as you are starving your body, literally, or starving the part of your soul, literally, and you are supposed to be actively feeding your spirit man. And you will watch this transformation that begins to happen to where your spirit man then becomes directing the decisions that take place in your life. And that is where this breakthrough power that comes from, where Jesus said, well, this kind can only be healed by prayer and fasting. And so that's what we're talking about there. So just very practically here, because if fasting is new to you, you might say, well, how do I do it? Well, you can fast anything, literally. You could fast TV, social media, food. But what we're asking as a church-wide body, is that you would fast some type of food. And there are complete fasts that you can do, or there are juice fasts that you can do, or you can fast the first 2 meals of the day and then eat in the evening, or other things like that. So that's completely up to you, and there's no pressure or guilt or any of that. We're just asking that you would join with us and fast. So just to share with you kind of how I engage when I'm fasting, because it's always helpful for me to kind of see sometimes what other people are doing. Is I've decided to fast a certain amount of food throughout the next 10 days, but I'm prioritizing engaging the Lord in other ways, whether that's in your devotion or spending time praying, or maybe you have a devotion in the morning or in the evening, and now maybe during your lunch break, you're like, okay, I don't need to be on social media during my lunch break. I can spend 15 minutes praying or worshiping during that time. And that's feeding that spirit man in that part. And so I just want to encourage you, take a little bit of extra time and worship and pray and read the word, and watch how much your spirit man is fed in those areas of your life where you're seeing breakthrough will happen. Can you throw up the next slide there? 3 songs. You can play whatever worship music you like. But if you're looking for 3 songs that are powerful and will bring you in front of the throne room of God, the blessing, Waymaker, and the victory is yours. You just capture those by memory. And anyway, let's have an expectation that God's going to do something. Fasting isn't punishment. It's not penance. It's a reward that's available to us on the other side. So there you go. Feel free to take part.